Welcome to heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. As always, I am Mike Chisholm. As always, I am excited to have conversations in the world of mental wellness. We all need a little bit of wellness, don't we? Don't we all need a little bit? Imagine if your mental wellness increased by 5%. Who knows? By the end of this episode, it might even be more than that. Because we've got a phenomenal guest. Nothing because of my efforts, but because of our guests. Mark O'Brien is back, and I mean, we had him on. I guess that's a couple of years ago now. I guess was the last time I talked to Mark. Former soccer in Canada, football everywhere else in the world, former football player, had to retire from health issues. The first episode that he was on goes through the entire story, both the surgeries he had, just an unbelievable turn of events for him in his career. And he's back here, so his book Game of Two Hearts is still out, obviously, but just catching up with Mark to find out the mentality on this man is one that I certainly hope to emulate in many, many ways. And there's a lot of great stuff. Listening to a guy who's a champion mentality talk about how he views life, really, really cool conversation. So we have a phenomenal conversation with Mark O'Brien, athlete, and just really, really fun to hear what he has to say about how he views things. Definitely worth the listen. If you haven't downloaded the He Changed It app, what the heck are you waiting for? Go to whatever your app store is and download it. We just want to say thank you very, very much for everybody who has supported us up to this point. My wife and her team and everybody that's Joel and Randy and everybody involved with on the He Changed It side of things. Really, really want to see this world improve, and we see it happening on a daily basis. So thank you very much for all of the support. I hope you enjoy my conversation here on heCast with Mark O'Brien. All right, Mark, I'm so excited that you're back on heCast today. On the eve of the day that you were brought into this planet, you are coming and hanging out with us and talking with us. So thank you so much. I mean, I'm going to ask how things have been going, but how are things currently for you?
Things currently are brilliant. Like, I'm loving every single minute that I get of a day. Like, that is as simple as it is. Like, what I do on a daily basis, like working alongside a charity in Newport that is close to me now more than ever, and it's just opened my eyes to all different ways of life. And like, as I just think to myself that I'm just a lot more of content in myself. I'm a lot more relaxed and less stressed that I probably would have been a couple of years ago. So yeah, like, I'm in a really good place at the moment.
So, and I'm glad that we kind of got into that off the hop. Obviously, people can listen to the to our original conversation, but this last year and a half has solidified for you the idea that there is life after football, and it can be quite a good life. Wouldn't it have been nice to take that little fact and tell Mark of about 8-9 years ago that that was the case?
100%. Like, and the thing is, like, after my operation, especially, I would have never have thought that I'd be in the position that I am now. Like, because, as you say, your whole life gets dedicated to football. Like, everything from what you eat to what time you wake up to how you sleep to how you prepare and how you train. Like, your whole life is consumed and taken over by it. So to think there'd be a life after football when you feel as though your life has come to an end once football stops is kind of like one of those things that I'm kind of glad that I've seen this side of life. I'm glad to see that that was only a chapter in my life, and now I'm onto a different chapter to see where that might take me. And then wherever that ends, the next chapter like picks up again. So, like, as I say, the lessons that I've learned from myself is that everything comes in small chapters or big chapters, but everything all leads in the same direction. And it's just a matter of how you want it to look and how you want it to be is up to your choice. And that's how, like, I truly believe in things now.
You know, it's funny. If you would have gone back to the 18-year-old version of yourself, who's just singularly focused and there was nothing there was nothing to life except football at that
Yeah.
point for you, you know, and the idea that if you were to tell that kid what you just said now, the overwhelm would be astounding. But the thing that defeats the overwhelm is that you're right. This change, this progress does happen, but it happens in little chapters. You don't have to think about the destination right now and just get completely bowled over by it. It's little steps that lead you in that direction. And we
Yeah,
learn those little steps
100%.
every single day.
Yeah, 100%. Like they're the things that I think I pay attention to, probably pay attention to a lot more now, are the little steps along the way. I think, like you say, you get consumed looking at the bigger picture where you want that next big move in football, you want that next big thing, you want that next big career change, and everything you always expect and you look forward for. But it's the little steps and the days that you get ahead of yourself that are the only things that you can potentially control. So I always just focus on them, because I was someone that I used to be very hard on myself, especially after the operation, where you'd look a year or two down the line and I'd say, well, I need to get better by this time and I need to do this and speed it up and speed it up. Whereas I look at it now and I just think, well, whatever the future holds can only be determined on what I do today. And whatever I do today, I might as well make the most of it and the best of it to make the best of that day. And then when tomorrow comes, it's a whole new another challenge to kind of go, well, make that day whatever I want to make it. And they're the slow processes along the way that I've started to really live my life by. And to be honest, it's not steered me wrong. It's put me in certain positions and it's put me in certain ways of thinking that, as I say, I wish I had this way of thinking when I played football, and probably football wouldn't have been as stressful or as consuming in my life, where you would have been able to maybe enjoy it that little bit more, whereas it's not as stressful and it's not as pressurized, and you would have been able to kind of kick back into that kid that just loves football. But at the same time, when it becomes your job and it becomes that kind of stressed environment where you're winning and losing and that's all it's determined on, I think you look at it now that realistically, that is all like kind of irrelevant, to just go out and enjoy it, and whatever you want to put towards you, you'll receive in it.
You know, it's funny. You and I touched on this a little bit last time in our last conversation. It's around the idea of the narrative or the story that we tell ourselves, you know, and how we frame our existence. We talked about that a little bit last time, and I'm just hearing it again right now. It's like, and for people who are listening to this conversation, you know, we're talking about wholesale changes. That kid that you just described, all it is one sentence added to the narrative. I'm going to try and have a lot of fun today, and maybe even make fun for somebody else today. If you would have just added that one sentence to that kid, it would have taken the experience and put an entire dimension on it. It's sometimes that one sentence, that one way of looking at things added to what you already have. And you can put yourself into a much happier mindset in that moment just by adding that little one sentence to the narrative.
Yeah, 100%. And I think even, like I say, how I live my life now is that exact same way. Like, I look at things as moments. So whatever comes into me life is a moment at that particular time. Yes. Whatever leaves me life, you look at it and kind of take the lesson, whatever it was for it, or you enjoy it for what it is. Because I simply look at my life now to say, whatever comes and goes in my life was meant for me at those particular times. And that's when I look back at having to retire at the particular age and the things that have kind of led me to where I'm at. But I still look at it and go, whatever comes into my life now and whatever comes into it tomorrow and the next day and the next day, I'll just take it as it comes. And when I want to make the most of it and I want to make the best of it, like, I wake up, and I've always said it, that like the simple things in my life are the simple things of saying, like, waking up in the morning, as I've said before, that is something that means a lot to me, because it could have been taken away from me 5 years ago. So when that is something that my day starts with that, and whatever is on top of that is a bonus, well, then my day is an exciting day, because whether I get out of bed or even if it's raining outside and all of these different things that I look at and say are slightly irrelevant, because they're the things that should not determine how you look at the day. The day, how you want to look at it, is your choice. So, like I say, if you want to have that positive mindset, and don't get me wrong, I know from previous and I know from my past that I was in that dark place where I did see nothing but doom and gloom every day.
Yeah.
So the
you know what it's
reason
like
that
to be
I
in the
liked
cave.
it,
That's right.
yeah, 100%. And the reason why I'm like this now is because I know what that feeling is like. So it's not the fact that I say every day that I wake up, I just see rainbows and it's sun shining out my window. I know I have terrible and I have days where I kind of second guess myself. But I also then look at it and go, well, when you break it down, this is just a small moment in the moment of that day. And then when that moment passes, well, then your day doesn't mean that it has to be prolonged and be a bad day. It just means, well, that particular moment in the day was a bad moment. Then you move on from that and you keep pushing forward and you keep taking those one step at a time. And you can still end up having a great day when you take the small positives out of it when you want to look for them. And that is literally every single day of my life is how I see things like that now.
Yeah. And, you know, these little decisions that can be made. And again, a decision can't, you know, making a decision. I lost my father a few months ago, and making a decision, to say my grief is over. Well, that's unrealistic, but making a decision to say grief is a process. I'm going to move through it. I'm going to make the best of every day, even the horrible moments. You know, that's a decision that can carry significant weight in how you look at things
100%.
by making that decision to make that, to point in that direction. And it sounds like you're waking up in the morning and you're choosing gratefulness because you're framing it against, you know, what it could be. And all of us have these dark moments in our life. Okay, what if that was the rest of my life? What if my life ended at that point, in that dark moment? And if we start and we frame our day versus that dark moment, holy crap. Yeah, that's a decision to be present and to have a better understanding of each moment rather than just let them go by. And what a way to start the day. I mean, it's a champion's mindset. This is where the athletics come in, and you can see where all those drills and all those things that you would do physically improved your game. Well, these mental ones obviously will improve your game, the game of life. And it sounds like that's where you are right now, man. It's okay. I gotta ask. The last time we talked was a lot closer, obviously, to the release of the book. I bet you learned a lot of stuff and met a lot of cool people in the promoting and talking about your book.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I think when I was releasing it, I said before, like I was nervous about releasing it because I didn't know how it was going to be received. I didn't know how people would take it, whether they'd say it's terrible. And if people turn around and say my book is terrible, they're basically saying my life is terrible.
Sure.
So
yeah,
with all of those difference of opinions that could have came my way, like the people who actually took that time out and bought the book or read the book, and honestly, like the feedback and everything that I had from it, and people getting to read it, it was almost like it was lovely to hear. Like again, I didn't do it for, as you say, the pat on the back and for people to love me life. You do it just to be open and honest.
Yeah.
But when people are kind of speaking back to you about your life, saying, Mark, like what you've been through, honestly, it's so inspiring and all these different things, that it was so nice to hear, because as you say, it puts another meaning onto the reason of why I had to go through what I went through, to maybe be the person that speaks about things and talks openly about it. And look, I'm not going to cut corners on the fact of how things are and how things were and the stuff that I struggled with. But at the same time, it almost gives a level playing field to everybody out there that kind of look at it and go, well, I might have played professional football and I might have done these things and I moved away and I played in front of stadiums and people have supported me. But realistically, I'm the same as everybody else. And my life was based around football, but I always seen the book as it was based on a life story. It's not based on like the typical football story and it's only all about football. Like it's just a life story, and football was the chapter part of it. And as I said, for people to be able to read that and use it as an example for themselves. And I've had other kids that have messaged me about they've gone through hard difficulties, and I've had parents phone me saying that their kids are going through hard stuff or they've been through heart operations. And it just opened up my eyes to kind of, it was nice to kind of hear that it was helping other people. And that was the main reason to what we spoke about before, saying I wanted my story to have a meaning and reason behind it. I wanted it to help people and maybe bring peace to them, to make them think, well, if he was able to do it, so can I. And that is the reason why I speak out, or I stay open and honest about things as I do, because I want to be that example that as much as your life can take, a flip upside down and turn completely on its head, you can turn it all the way back and carry on just in a new way of living under the circumstances that you've gone through, but it can be just as positive, if not more positive, with a better perspective along the way. And that, when I hear that back from other people to say that it's helped them in that direction, like I said, like that was something that blew me away.
Yeah. I can imagine it did. And I mean, it's funny, you've played in some big games. You've had a lot of big moments, as we like to say, from the drama of sport. But now you have also seen the feeling and felt the feeling of you could make an impact on someone's life. And I mean, I'm just watching you talk about it. I'm just watching you beaming, and it just, you got these big moments in sport, and you think that's the pinnacle of what feeling and the human experience can be. Being a champion really could be. But when you affect somebody's life like that, and you can take your story and use it to forge perhaps a better path for somebody, I mean, those are the footprints of wisdom right there. And I mean, the feeling that comes with that, I could just see it beaming out of you.
But that's what it feels like. And that's what I mean is, though, when I've kind of stopped being hard on myself in life, and you kind of say, let it take you in whatever direction it needs to take you, and you just kind of accept things as they come. And it's led me down the way again, like it was when we first spoke. It's led me down directions where it is about helping people. And to be able to kind of say that I've been through the stuff that I've been through, and again, it's not about the ones where you say I'm sharing my story to get that on me back and to kind of say, oh, Mark, you're brilliant. Like, it's sharing it in the most rawest form that it needs to be, for people to kind of go, well, he has his struggles as much as us, but look how he can get up out of bed, so can I. And look how he's able to carry on with his life, so can I. Because again, I still look at it and said, I could have taken the option where I could have flown back to Ireland. I could have been that fella that in years to come is sitting there going, that used to be me. And I said I didn't want that for myself, because I always felt there's more for me to kind of go, well, I want to be able to make now this another example of my life. So again, it goes back to when I first retired, and when you get told those same words, that it wasn't the job that made you successful, it was you that made your job successful. It was almost like, right, well, my life can still be successful because I can make it successful. And whatever way that might look, it doesn't have to be successful where I'm owning a business and I own a job and all of these different things. To be successful now for me is the fact of going, if it can put a smile on someone's face, if it can help somebody's day, and if it can make somebody as relaxed in life as it's made me, well, then that is a success for me. And that is where I see my life heading. And that is what probably makes me feel more content, to know that if I'm happy within myself and I'm able to do that for somebody else just through talking and just through being a presence in someone's life, well, then you know what, that means more to me than it does that any money can give you.
And that's not lip motion. Like you say that and people will hear that and they'll be like, what? Making somebody's days better than what? No. Like it can't be. And you have seen a lot of very cool things in the human experience. In your human experience, you've experienced a lot of cool stuff. As an athlete at a top tier level, you get some cool adventures in life, and you've had some cool things that you have come in front of those two eyes that you got there. But you saying this now, and I mean, I've heard other people, I've got there's somebody, it doesn't matter who it is. He's very, very, very successful. And he gives back like crazy, but he's a little bit cranky. And you say to him, oh yeah, you're really generous. You're really generous. And he just kind of gruffs his eye. No, it's all self-aggrandizing. Like, what? You do it privately. You don't do it publicly. No. It just makes you feel so good to help people that, it's a selfish pursuit. Like he's so far gone down that path that he's like, no. Helping people, it brings joy. It's a selfish pursuit. It feels so good to help people and to get them unstuck and to move them forward, whatever that might look like. It's a dopamine hit. I don't know what it is inside the head, but it does feel that good. And hearing you say it, I just want to put the exclamation point on it. Folks, he's being legitimate. There's that. It feels that good to do that.
But that's exactly it. Like, and it genuinely does. And because it feels good to make somebody's day, and it feels good for that, like you say, you want it to be the ripple effect. Because if there is a day that I feel good, well, then you want that next person to feel that. And if the next person isn't, well, then you want to lift them to feel that. And like I always say, like the biggest goal in anybody's life that we can all do and we can all try and be is just be a good person each day. Like that is all that anybody can really be asked of.
Yes.
And sometimes it goes great and sometimes you don't have great days. But on those days that you aren't great, well then there'll always be somebody else. And that's when I talk about being willing to be vulnerable, is that there'll be somebody else to make you feel that little bit better about yourself. Because everybody does need that helping hand. And I've realized now, even in life, that we're all in the same life, but we just see it through different perspectives. Like every single different of perspective, that you see life different to me, but we're still living and breathing the same life. But it's just because of what life experiences have happened along the way that makes you see it differently. Now, whether that's relationships or someone letting you down, or whether that's an operation or a life-changing event, you see things differently. But when you strip it all back, it's the same life that we both live, that it's almost like, right, well, let's all come together and let's all like have a helping hand for someone. And I said not long ago that if there was one thing that I would love nothing more, is the fact of, in the world that we live in now, when everybody sits and compares lives and everybody thinks that you need to be successful and doing all these other major things, that if everybody stopped comparing and just kind of applauded somebody else's success, and you don't compare your life to it to make yourself feel insecure about what you are or what you aren't doing, and everybody's in it together, I think, like you say, the world would probably be a lot calmer and a much better place. But unfortunately, at the moment, we're in a state where everybody looks at someone else's life and thinks, well, why don't I have that? And why can't I be this? And I think that's what drags you into certain ways of being and a certain perspective. Whereas I always just think, you brush all that back, everything in between life, from when you're born to the day that unfortunately you won't be around anymore, everything else is what you want to make of it. So whatever you want to make of it in between that, why not try and make it the best that you can possibly make it? And some days it'll go great and some days it won't. But that's the whole thing about life. Like, it's that excitement and roller coaster that when you enjoy being on it rather than dreading being on it, it becomes a great place.
Yeah, it's the old Shawshank Redemption logic, you know, get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah,
and
100%.
and you can make the decision to get busy living every day. If you do that 5 or 6 days purely just as an exercise, you're not going to recognize the next week, because the momentum that you'll create for yourself is just, it's nuts. And like you say, it's not that you won't have setbacks. Is the setbacks always end up being opportunities. They just do. Because they get you thinking present, they get you problem solving, they get you, you know, putting your eye back on the goal of where you want to go again. And sometimes it's painful, but the setbacks are actually, they become opportunities, and there are some cultures who even look at them that way. You know, I wanted to, the other cool thing that I really appreciate about what your new life or your life now looks like, it's you're one of those lucky individuals that didn't have to give up football. You know, I think about my friends, some who played hockey, you know, in Canada, hockey's religion up here, right? And I think about so many of my people that are in my life that played through it, and it became a season of their life, and then they had to say goodbye to it. But then you meet the chosen few who get to go work as a broadcaster, or perhaps they get to go as an analyst, or they get to work for a team somehow. And you've, I mean, clearly your spirit and your words up to this point are proving the reason as to why they would want this. But you're an ambassador for Newport. And I'm curious what that means, what it means to you that you get to still do that, and how you get to be one of those chosen few that gets to hold on and be as tangentially connected to the game still, and how that feels for you.
Like, genuinely, I do believe that when I got approached in the summer, I was still working on behalf of the club, but I was obviously just to do with the senior team. I had nothing else to do with the club. And I remember when the new owner approached me and he spoke to me and said, Mark, have you thought about an ambassador role and what it may look like, where it's almost like you're a representative of the club, you're a face of the club, that if we need you to go out to certain events and do certain things, you'll represent the club at the best way possible. And to be honest, I've loved every minute of it, and I get to work alongside County in the Community, which is a charity side of the club, which is its own charity, but it like kind of coincides with the club.
Sure. What do they do?
So again, what they do is they'll work with 29 schools in a week. It's like go and deliver in little football sessions for kids. Then all of a sudden they will have walk-in football, which is basically football with no contact. So I join in with that and I play all of that, which I absolutely love. Then they go to a thing that they call like Fit and Fed, which is basically they go into the communities of Newport and they put on little football sessions for kids in the park to come over, and they feed them a couple of sandwiches here and there. And then they go to food banks. They put on school kids camps during when the schools take a break over here. Like they just do so much. And
wow,
to be involved with all of that, like when I was a player, you get kind of asked to do these things and go along.
Yep.
And to kind of experience it now where I call that a job. Like for me to think that I call that a job, like I don't see it as work. Like if I'm going and you see a bunch of kids running around chasing a ball and they're all happy and I'm joining in and having like some fun with it, like you can't call that work. And these are the things that I kind of say that where I'm at in my life, like the things that have kind of come my way and to be where I'm at, like that is why I think the things that I think, because my job title is to go around and potentially put a smile on someone's face and is to make somebody's day that mightn't be as privileged to come to watch Newport County play. Well, now they get to play down the park, and the walk and football for a lot of people, where some are women, some are men. They haven't played football before, but they've been going for years. Like I've said, and I say this story all the time when I speak about walk and football, that 4 weeks ago, one of the participants who's been going for 10 years, he's 90 years of age and he's still coming to walk in football. And for me,
brilliant. That's brilliant.
That is something where I look at that, and that's an example to, like for me. So if I was to go up there and I think my back is sore and my knee's a bit sore and all that, I have a 90-year-old man who says to me, Mark, come on, we go for a jog, or like you'll be on my team tonight. And that to me, like I say, that's like a realization of everybody in their life has a story to how they are, why they are, and everything. And they're the things that I love now, is to be able to sit and meet all these other people and just understand people so much more, and to be able to have conversation. And as you say, sometimes with these groups that go on, that this is some people's reason to why they go outside the door on a weekday. This is why they go out on a weekend to go and watch Newport or to go to these sessions. And as you say, when you're that for somebody's life, like I can't call that work, but I'm happy enough to say that I can call it work.
It's amazing that you have been able to keep this connection. And again, you just proved my point. This is why I wonder why they would want Mark to be the ambassador. Yeah, no, that's why right there. That attitude is just, and it's so authentic. It's just, it's where you're at. It's who you are. It's, you know, you're not having to contortion your personality in any way to be a part of, you know, this forward facing, you know, privilege that the team's given you. Do you spend much time with the current roster?
Do you know what I do? When I can, like obviously I still stay in touch with them and stuff like that. I think where they are at the moment and how things are running for them, in the league at the moment isn't kind of where we want to be or how we want it to be. But I think when I'm able to still be in touch with certain players to kind of try and dip into how I was last season with them, to try and help them as much as I possibly can, where I will sit and speak with them and try and give them that little bit. But again, sometimes, like you say, I'm also glad to be outside of it, because I know how much of a pressure cooker it can feel. And I know how much it can kind of zap the energy out of your life to kind of feel when you're in that moment and you're in that feeling of everything is going wrong. You feel like that's taken part. So to be on the outside of that looking in, I means I can kind of probably give a better perspective than I can when I'm actually in it. So to be able to sit and still speak with them when I can, and to still be involved when I can. So I am still part as much as I can be. But like I say, I don't see them training every day, but I would see them every weekend when they play.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you. It was more a question of, because to me, you know, your mental coaching could be a secret weapon to me, because you are so close to it, but at the same time you're removed enough now to go, okay, like that's the question. Like, okay, you got these guys who are dealing with this adversity right now, right? You know what it's like to be in that room. You can put yourself in that room. I know you can.
Yeah.
You can put yourself there, and you can. What would you say to those guys? What would you say to those guys who are in this state of obstacle, and the obstacle is so big, and they're not happy where they're at,
To be
and
honest,
they're so intense. What do you say to them?
To be honest, when I came into Newport at the time when I did, we were in the exact same position, but it was later in the season. And I've always said that what it takes is almost you sit down, you roll your sleeves up, and you take it every single game as it comes. And I know it sounds cliche to say when you speak about sport, where you go, we just focus on the next game. Yep. That is all you can possibly do in this situation, because if you are looking at other people's fixtures and you look at other people's results, and you look at everything that's going on at the moment, it can also distract you and worry you if the other team wins and you lose and all of these things. Whereas you almost have to have kind of a mentality to kind of say, we're all in it together. We roll up our sleeves and we go, and we're going to fight every single weekend. And however that may look, it's about results now and not performance. And I look at it and think, that's what we got taught along the way when we were going through the struggles we were, and it saved us to where we got saved and progressed up through the league. Whereas I look at it now and I just think if they are to adopt on a mentality of any sort right now, it's a fighting mentality to kind of say, forget everything else, get as many wins as you can, get the results that you need, and that will build your confidence to play the football you want to play.
Yeah.
And then the football that you want to play with confidence looks even better to how you're trying to play it right now with no confidence. So it's almost like you strip it all back and say, you go back to basics, and every man that's next to you, left and right, you roll your sleeves up and you fight for each other. And that is all that you can possibly do in a situation like this.
That's when life throws adversity your way. That's kind of how it really is. It's really, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, our eyes are basically like a camera, like a zoom lens, right? And sometimes we can zoom out a little bit and we can make 5-year plans and things like that we would like to go, that we maybe move the trajectory of our life. But then when life happens, sometimes that zoom lens just comes right in, and you got to focus on, like, how am I getting through the day? How am I going to feed the kids? How am I going to, pay the rent? How am I going to, these things here, you got to get hyper focused. But then as things start to get more comfortable, you can zoom out a little bit more, and you can start aiming trajectory of where you want to go. But yeah, when you're in a time of obstacles are all that's around you, you got to just hyper focus in and just focus on one step at a time. Like sometimes you can only do 1 second at a time,
100%. It's the same thing. Like you say, that is the exact same thing that people, I think, also forget to do in life, where everybody makes these 5-10 year plans and everybody looks so far ahead. Yeah. And when life happens, they almost get hit with a double whammy, where the expectation they built for a 5-year plan, now that's not going to come to fruition. And now all of a sudden they struggle with the daily obstacles of what they're facing, as well as they struggle with knowing they won't make a 5-year plan. Whereas I said, when you narrow your life down to taking every single day as it comes, and it's not me saying, and I've said this before, it's not saying that I don't have ambition to look and say, I want my life to be successful. I just focus for myself to go, it will be successful, but however that success may look will happen however it looks. Right now is to make this day successful, or to make it to the best way that I possibly can. And whoever I meet along that way could end up changing the path of that. But if I was to be so hyper fixed and focused on 5 years' time, you miss all of these opportunities along the way. And with those things, the way I see them now, is that, look, it's not for everybody. And I understand everybody will always have their own opinions on things. And this is my perspective of what I've went through. But to an extent, I kind of say it's made my life so much less stressful, because I don't have to think of a 5-year plan. I don't have to think what's life going to look like in 10 years' time. I look at it and go, well, do you know what? If I wake up tomorrow and I have the opportunity of that day ahead of me, well, then that is all I look forward to. And when it's that simple, and people might, again, think, you make it sound so simple, but this is for the last 5 years of understanding what I've been through to kind of go, what matters more? And what I've been through to what matters more is the fact of going, me getting told that I almost had less than 24 hours of living 5 years ago has made me look at life so differently, to where I look at things now to kind of say, well, do you know what, the day ahead of me, that is all that matters to me. And however that looks, or whoever I come in contact with, well, do you know what, that could be another opportunity that I could say yes to. That 5 year plan, if I had one, I'd end up ignoring that. Whereas now I don't ignore things, I just take them for what they are. And however they come into me life, well, do you know what, they get accepted for whatever purpose they have for me.
Yeah. It's wisdom. It really is. I was going to ask, actually. Yeah. So, I think most people who would be listening to this either have listened to the first one, or they know who you are, and they the health journey. How is your health? How are things looking? Because we're 5 years after the last surgery.
Yeah, it's 5 years since the surgery, and as far as I'm aware, everything's all right. But no, like,
is there a clock anymore? Every year, do you have to go? And is that that's still happening, right?
That's still happening. So my next scan is next month. So I will be having that, which will then be a year and a half since the last one. And again, like you say, it's a yearly basis. But I normally don't think about things. And again, this is where the human aspect comes into it. When it gets closer, it's like, that's when I'll get nervous, and that's when I'll start overthinking, and that's when I'll start thinking, what if they find something? All these last 5 years have been a waste, and all these things that come around. And I understand them, to where sometimes, like, I can be this type of way where, again, you just kind of, I don't shy away from it anymore. I allow people to know this about me. Whereas before, I never told people I was nervous. I'd go, it'll be fine, I'll get it done, and everything will be great. But me going to that hospital, I knew I'd be so scared, and I'd be so nervous, because how they picked it up when I was 16 was down to a routine scan with no symptoms, no nothing. Whereas it always has that small doubt behind the mind to say, well, everything's been going great, but just what if? And if that what if happens, then it's almost like, right, so like you say, you spiral into thinking, well, if that happens, how are you going to do it? How are you going to deal with it? What happens here? And then this, then that. And like I say, so I'm not, again, as I said before, I'm not someone who thinks that, I'm going to go in and everything's amazing, but I am going to have that little bit of a worry. But as far as my health's concerned for myself, like, I've been brilliant. Like, I've loved every minute of it, and I've gotten myself back into gym routines. I've gotten myself back playing walking football, and like I say, I feel fit and well.
That's we had a professional wrestler on the show. His name is Al Snow, and Al Snow talked about how people play the what if game wrong.
Yeah,
they play the what if game totally wrong, and it totally screws them up. And you just talked about it, like what if something shows up on the scan? What if you play the what if game? He goes, you're supposed to play the what if game the other way. What if I go out tomorrow and have the best performance I've ever had? And what if that performance is seen by somebody, and that person who sees it has a meeting with me, and that meeting, and what if at that meeting we realize that we're, necessary to each other's means to ends? What if that means I get a job offer? What if that means, like, and you play the what if game to the point where 100%. You're basically in God mode, and you can do that, and it serves us to do that, because what it does is open up the mind to the positive possibilities. But so often what happens is we play the what if game wrong, and we play the negative, and we catastrophize things, and we train ourselves to catastrophize things rather than training ourselves to expecting the positive outcome, which 99% of the time actually does happen, to the point where we don't even see it anymore. We're not even present and noticing it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But they're the choices that, again, like I say, it all comes down to the choice. You can choose to be a positive, or you can choose to be a negative person. Yeah. And a lot of people have spoken to me before and said, it's not that simple. And I said, well, it is, because even if you get hit with a negative bit of news, how do you see the positive in it? Or how do you want to attack it? And if you want to face it head on, that's a positive step. If you want to allow it to be the victim of it, well, then you are going to be the negative side of it, and you are going to see the worst side of it. And like I say, the only time that I would say my struggles ever came in was always due to health, like a health anxiety that came my way. And I knew it was because I've never been faced with someone. Now, again, when I was 16, I got told I had a year to live, which, like you say, in a year, it's a big gap. That's still a significant thing. But at 27, I got told it was less than 24 hours. And they were phoning me parents to like kind of say that things weren't looking great. So that kind of messed with my mind to kind of think how fragile things can be.
Yeah.
So I do understand, especially now for myself, that, like I say, if I want to see things positively and I want to see the outcome of everything that I've been through as a positive to be where I'm at now, well, I am going to do that. And I said the only kind of hiccups that I do get, or the only faults that I get, is when it gets close to me health, because it's something that is deep rooted and personal, where I kind of go, oh, hang on, I know this put me in a bad place last time. Let's hope. And again, like you say, you want to hope for the best. But I'd say they're the only times that, even if everybody in this positive bubble that they see me in, Mark is human. Well, I am, because I do have the exact same feelings. Like, I do struggle with things. But like I say, that what if stuff is that I can think of so many things to say yes to, and that what if used to be. But if I say yes to this, well, what happens if that could be the best thing that happened? And that's where I talk about, I think, like you say, everybody loses sight of the day ahead of themselves, because they've either been listening to stuff that has happened to them yesterday and they carry it into that day. And then when they carry it into this day, the next day can only be just as tired. And they feel as though when you're not dealing with what is needed to be dealt with, you carry it in so many ways that it becomes part of your life and everything. And I've noticed that everything in your life at this moment is all down to habit and routine. And it's all about, like, when one habit ends, you pick up another one. And when you don't deal with a certain routine, it goes like with football was routine. So now all of a sudden a new job is a routine, is a habit. You go to a new job and you are nervous, you're the new kid on the block and all these different things. All of a sudden, give it a week and it's like you've been there your whole life. Like I've always said, when I had open heart surgery, I never knew what it was like to constantly feel my heartbeat. Now I can't remember what it's like not to feel it.
Right. Yeah.
So now all of a sudden it's like everything that you just need to make a constant in your life when you start a new gym program. So everything now for myself, that whatever feels uncomfortable, well, then I'll stick with it to make it feel comfortable again. So when the negative comes in, I'll stick with it until it becomes the positive. And when something feels awful what I'm doing at that particular time, or I'm not quite good at something, well, you know what, I'll stick at it to make it that I'm good at it. And they're the way that I see so many different things now, that everything is an opportunity and everything that life is going to give you is an opportunity. It just depends on how you want to see it, and it depends on how you want to take it. And if you want to see it as, oh, well, yesterday was a bad one and last year was a horrible year and whatever, it's almost like, right, well, I look at it now and say, whatever's in my past, I can't change. And whatever's for my future, I will never know. The only thing that I can look at is the day that I wake up. And the day that I wake up, however the future may look, is irrelevant. And whatever happened to me yesterday is irrelevant. I'll deal with it today and I'll just move forward. And that is the outcome that my life has been lived under for the last, I'd say, 3 years since we've spoken. That I just become a lot more content in myself of seeing that one step in front of the other, how beneficial it actually is and how much more relaxing it is for your mind and your life.
Man, you make it sound easy. I the idea that, and it can be easy. That's the other part. Like looking at your habits every single day and saying, okay, well, I'm just going to tackle this one. This one takes 30 seconds. It's stretching when I wake up in the morning versus, grabbing the phone right away. Okay. Within 3 or 4 days. Oh, now it's a habit. And you just start to build on these things. So it can be, it might be one of those things where they say, oh yeah, it can be simple, maybe not easy, perhaps. But the idea, I'm super curious about this, because at the end of the day, you look at your career as a player and really you took it further than you ever thought you'd take it, especially, during the early, the first time that there was a scare. What you thought you might get, and then you get to the point where you're taking it year by year and whatnot. You ended up playing a lot longer than many thought you might, but still retired earlier than many who retire. People who retire are usually kind of the age you are now, right? That's when they start to look at retirement.
Yeah.
So all that to ask the question, boy, it sure feels like if some of these people that have been literally doing this since they were boys and didn't have some of the interruptions that you had, and that's all they've been focusing on, and now they're at the point where they're having to retire, the reentry is going to be really bumpy unless maybe they come behind a guy like you. Have you been helping any of the your alumni or people that you played with adjust to civilian life outside of the game?
Do you know what? Majority of people that I played alongside are still playing now. So
yeah, there you go. So they're not even there yet.
Really well, but I know at some stage. But again, as I said, I think by how I'm living my life and how I'm doing things, they can kind of see that there is a life after football, because it is someone. Now look at, I think everybody who's in football all have friends who have retired and done certain things, but I think football has changed in the mentality side of stuff, where I think a lot of people who are getting later down their life in football are also setting themselves up as it's coming to an end for what life after football will look like. So I know there's a lot of people that are gone into certain life insurances. I know people who are doing coaching badges. I know people who are going into different industries. So they're already setting themselves up, which I always looked at and said, that is going to be a main focus. I said, find something that I said you can slot yourself into almost alongside football at the moment, that it's almost like the seamless transaction. I said, but never underestimate that. The feeling of wanting or loving to play football, I said, you'll never leave it. Like, it will never leave you. Like, you have to almost accept the fact that it's like, well, yeah, I'll never play again. And look, I had great years. And I said, look back at proud, fond memories. Like, I spoke with one of my mates who was in football, and he's a really good friend of mine. And he was someone who helped me through, like, obviously a lot of this stuff with myself. And I remember we sat and we spoke on the phone, and we spoke about saying about how footballers never, ever take the time to feel proud of what they've done. They'll never be proud of what they've done, because it's always been, everything was for the team and everything was for someone else. But we said, like, we never sit there and go, hang on a second, like, I trained and done a pre-season for 15 years. I've played at Wembley. I've played at all these different things. Now, when we were speaking, like, he was talking to me about a team they were playing against. And someone said to him, oh, so many times you've been to Wembley? And he said, because of the team that he's in now, nobody said that they've been. And he's sitting there going, I've been there 5 times. And he said, it made me just realise to kind of go, actually, I've done okay by myself. And I said, but then that's the realisation that a lot of people don't come to, because they always have to sit and think, well, you kind of get conditioned to think if you speak about yourself in a certain kind of light or in a certain positive way, you're seen as arrogant. You're seen as somebody who thinks he's full of himself. Whereas realistically, all you're doing is thinking, well, I didn't put all this hard work in for no reason. So, like, do you think somebody who's worked really hard to build a business, they're going to say, no, it wasn't, it's not my thing? Like, they want to brand it out everywhere. I said, you've worked so hard as a person to get what you've got and to do what you've done. I said, so to sit and be proud of it and to watch back certain clips and to do certain things, I said, you have every right just as much as anyone else. But again, it's the football culture, or maybe an athletic kind of culture, that it's always about the team that surrounds you. It's never the individual. Whereas sometimes I always think, sometimes when you take that step back and you do have to retire, sit there and be proud of yourself and go, do you know what? I had a good old run at it. I had a good go. And that is all that matters, because when you can be content with it like that, rather than trying to hold on saying, I wish I had one more game, I said, that will eat away at you forever. I said, sit at your career and go, do you know what? I wouldn't have done it any other way. I have no regrets. I said, and that is the only way to live it. And I said, when you see it that way, I said, anything after football comes, I said, you'll be so much more happy and content with it.
Yeah, well, and also you won't be thinking back on those moments of Wembley and realizing, you know, oh, I wish I would have been present. No, you'll be present. If you take that attitude when you're in Wembley, you'll actually be present enough to go, oh, wait a second, I'm going to put the recorder on a little bit. I am going to let that dopamine hit a little bit, and it's not going to stop my effort for what we need to do here. But hold on a second, I'm also not going to let it just go by, only focusing on what we have to do here. You know, like being present, like saying to these guys, you know, like the Newport club right now, okay, they're having a hard time. There's going to be times in their future where they're going to look back at these as the glory days. They're going to look back at these moments as, there are moments that if these young guys are letting these moments pass without being present, they're going to be having a conversation at some other point wishing they were.
Yeah, 100%. Like I've always said, at the time that we saved ourselves from relegation, now the lads who have been part of that team, we always look back and say, to go through that feeling again would be horrendous, but I'd love to do it all over again. For that final day, for that final celebration, for that final feeling, I said it's almost kind of like there was so much emotion that went on with it. But again, like you say, we still 10 years later look back at that and still speak about it to kind of go, what a day that was. That season was so crazy, but you know what? We did it. And I said that this group has that same capability to be able to look back and, like you say, years to come and say, do you remember when we didn't give up and we fought and saved ourselves? Like I said, that feeling is almost just as good as winning a trophy. And I said, I've not won any trophy as a professional, but I said that if that is the feeling that's close to it, where you save a club from a relegation and different things, I said, you know what? I said, these are moments that you have to hold on to. I said, because as I've said to a lot of people, especially from myself, I said, football is only about moments. I said, we can play hundreds, thousands of games, hundreds and thousands of minutes. I said, but people will only remember to go, Mark, do you remember that one time you scored a goal? Or do you remember that time that whatever happened at Wembley? Or do you remember that time when you played at so-and-so? And they'll talk about specific games. They won't talk about the thousands of minutes that you played and break it down bit by bit. So I said, create the best moments that you possibly can and live through those moments. So when you get them, enjoy them. Because you know what? They will come and go fast. But when you do finish and you have those moments to look back on, that will live with you forever. And that is what's more important.
You've said it so well. The current club right now, I like this. I like where we're going with this. Just thinking about that, like, because we're both just thinking about them and we're putting out good energy for them. We want them to, figure out their stuff that they want to figure out. What's the average age on that team right now?
I think the average age on that team right now, I think it's 22 or 23.
Okay. So you got a decade on them. And and you've gotten some wisdom that life has given you throughout the way here. And like, does it even, like, if you had them all in one room together and you're saying to them right now, hey, do you realize that there are some of you right now that are having moments that are like, you're going to look back on this moment and think this is some of the best moments of my life? Do you even know that? Like it's so interesting, the idea of being able to say to those guys, and challenge them with that idea. And would they be able to even grasp that concept that, it feels we're having a hard time right now. It's just, everything feels like it's going against us, that sort of thing. And then somebody to come and say, hey, by the way, just so you're aware, there's going to be a time when you're in your 30s or 40s and you look back and you go, hey, this day, one of the best days of your life. Like, what a mind fuck that is. Like, it just really, but
no,
it's true.
I genuinely think the same thing. Like, because I have tried to say so many times, and I think even in previous years, but especially last year and sometimes this year, like, I try and say to people that that's what football is. Football is moments. Football is literally, you could click your finger, have an injury, and it's all gone tomorrow. I said, so when you take every single day of training and every single game that you've got, and I said, you are giving your all. I said, that is all you can possibly do. And whether it's good enough or not, I said, is also down to the potential of what's around you and different things. But I said, I know for a fact that with the team that we have, that when they are all in it together, they are a very, very good side, regardless of age. But again, I always say football is an unforgiving game because, unfortunately, when you are playing football and you are young, you have to get thrown in at the deep end in a stadium full of thousands of people, and you will make mistakes.
Yep.
And sometimes it's always about, right, when you face the adversity of a mistake, how do you bounce back? How do you want to face it? How do you want to grow from it? How do you learn from your mistake?
Yes.
And unfortunately, at this moment, they are struggling with that. I think because it's almost like they're in what I would say they've created a routine for themselves. It's routine to kind of be in the rut that they're in. And it's almost like they need a bit of a shaking to kind of say, look, whatever happens from this moment forward or whatever happens from the next moment forward, create the best that you can possibly make for this one season and for this 1 week and for this one training session, this one game. Like, that's why I always say, sometimes when you break things down to basics from sport to life, everything becomes a lot simpler when you break it down step by step. It's when you get clouded with everything that's going on. Again, there's a new manager coming in. Then all of a sudden, it's like where we are in the league table, who's ahead of us, who we're playing next week, and what results we need to have, and what's this and what's this. And you can get so clouded where sometimes it's like back to basics, focus on what you need to focus on, do what you need to do, which is that one step in front of the other mentality, and let it take care of itself. And when you build momentum along with that, where you're looking a year down the line will already be coming around the corner, but you'll be in a much better mindset and hopefully in a better position in the league with a better confidence about you going to it. But I said you don't even need to look that far. You almost have to just look at what happens within this week and what happens within the next week. And they're the only things. And like I say, when I'm able to transfer that to my life, which is why I said I wish I had this mindset when I played, or else I wouldn't have probably felt as, I'd say, anxious about games or as worked up about games. But like you say, hindsight is a great thing to kind of think it would have been great. But I'm glad to be in the position that I'm in now to be able to experience this for life. Because again, like you say, it's a lesson that I'll always want to try and portray onto more people, just to kind of be open and honest about it. Because I believe that there is something behind where when you know that you're in control about what affects you, to what it doesn't affect you, to what gets to you, to what doesn't get to you, or to whatever happens in your life, it's up to you how you want to face it. I said, there's nothing that stops you. There'll be nothing that stops you in your life.
Man, it didn't take you till 50 to learn that lesson. And it's just, I'm listening to you and I'm hearing you and I think about, again, the people in my life who, isn't it a great feeling when a teacher said something to you when you were 13 or 14, and then suddenly in your adult life, it clicks and you get it. And instead of just hearing like what you were saying there, poetry to people who have experienced it and are on the verge of experiencing it, on the journey towards experiencing it. And then it gets diluted and it goes right back to the point where, again, if you're addressing 20 people, there's somebody who is just not even, maybe hearing your words, but not even understanding them. But 4 or 5 years later down the line, suddenly something clicks and they go, oh, that's what he was talking about that day. And there's a lot of these moments that happen. And I think perhaps a trick to life is not waiting, till you're 50 or 60 to learn some of these things. You can learn them in your 20s and 30s. You do that. And man, it changes the trajectory of your life. I was just thinking about what you were talking about, how, I'm certain it's got to be the same with hockey as it is with other sports. I've thought about teams that have started the season in the basement, and maybe they get 10 losses in a row or something like that, and it's just brutal. And yeah, like you say, people will come in and tinker with it or whatever, and the losing almost becomes, like you say, it becomes a habit. It becomes this thing that just continues on, and now that's our identity. And it's been fun being a fan of sport over the years when you take note of these lovable losers at this point, and then suddenly the pattern interrupt happens. Maybe it's a new coach that shows up. Maybe it's maybe it is a trade of some sort. Maybe it is just a decision that we're going to get up off the ground and we're going to go do this. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny watching that team get their first win, because many times the celebration is as ruckus as if they would have won the Stanley Cup or won the, it would have been, it's that like, oh my God, we interrupted the pattern and we're champions today because of that. And then what can be fun is the story that happens after that, because sometimes that team comes back if it's early enough in the season and they become, something more of a force than what they started with, or they do something different that is phenomenal. Yeah. But it's because of what they went through. And it's funny to watch teams who are at that place and they win that one game, and it's every bit as important as if they won the championship. And that's just funny, the way that human mentality works.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like you say, sometimes then that's where it's like the whole emotion that comes out of it is like just pure relief. It's almost kind of like, oh, yes, thank God we've done it. And it's everything that just kind of rushing out of you. But then that's kind of like the devil's advocate to it, because as much as you want to break that, and you do, you realize now all of a sudden it's like, right, the amount of energy we've needed to just try and change this bit of luck, now we need to find some more energy to carry on this ability and to carry on this. And like you say, it's difficult when you're in it, but it's almost like you play every game like, and I know it's going to sound again a cliche thing to say for football, but you play every game like it is a cup final, like it's a one-off game. Give everything for this one-off game, and then, do you know what, we'll train a bit again, here's another game, give everything for this one-off game. Because when it's done that way, it's almost like you try and lose the stigma of thinking, oh, well, we have next week to change it.
Yeah.
And we have next week to change it. You almost have to
What if you don't? What if you didn't have next week?
Exactly. You almost have to kind of put that little bit of pressure on to kind of say, one game only, give it everything. And then the next time it comes, you go, right, here's another one. One game only, give it everything. And when you solely focus on that, you then almost try and see to the players and say to them, like, look, it's not going to be easy and your bodies are going to be hurting every single week. But you know what? By the end of it, and by the time it does all come around, again, you go back to the moments thing. This will be a moment you'll never forget. This will be the turning point that you will sit there and go, this is why we have built a togetherness. We've built a family. We've built a team. Because the team that we built from the time when we almost got relegated, and the resilience and core that we had of that, all stemmed from a fight to keep ourselves safe. And then all the success that stemmed from that. But when times got hard in all of that success, we knew we had the core to round it all up again and go, right, we're back to fighting until we can start carrying on the path again. And when you build that core of it, like I say, nothing breaks it. And it's the same thing in your life. When you face an adversity, you might go on a trajectory. You might hit another adversity that might send you slightly backwards. But you just shut it all up again and you go, right, I know how to handle this, I'm going to go again. And any adversity I always look at does be exactly the same. It's just your choice on how to face it and how you want to deal with it. And when you choose the positive route every single time, no matter how long it takes with no time scale, you will get there and you'll be a better person because of it. Just like a football team will be a better team because of it.
Do you look at life like it's a game now, Mark?
Do you know what? In a roundabout way, yeah. Like, I kind of see life in a way that it's not as, like, again, it's not as stressful as people think it is. It's not as worked up as it is, and it's not as hard as it is. Like, you can go through hard times and you come up against some, like, rough people in your life. You can come up against, like, as you say, bad relationships, and not everybody's going to see life the same way you see it. And I 100% accept that. And that's what I say is, when I have that acceptancy that my life is as it is, and whatever or whoever incorporates themselves in with that will understand me as much as I'll understand the next person. But at the same time, if for whatever reason you don't see eye to eye on a certain perspective, or whatever I am doesn't suit you as the person you are, I look at it and say, well, that's fine. Like, I just don't see it as, well, when people are trying to hold on to things that aren't right for them, and you look back and go, oh, what, that should have been so different, and oh my God, I could be alone for the rest of my life, and all these things, I look at and go, well, whatever is going to be meant for me will be, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be unhappy trying to figure it out. I'm going to enjoy my life and figure it out as I go along, and wherever that leads me will lead me to wherever it needs to be. But I don't sit and worry about what it's going to look like. I sit and almost say, well, whatever it is, and you accept it. So it's funny that you say, do I see it as a game? But in a roundabout way, I just see it that it is very simple. Like, and it's as simple just because, like I say, I've broken things down to kind of go, well, this is really all life is. You get born, and again, it's going to sound sinister, but you die. And everything in between is what you make of it. So if I have the control over what I make of it, regardless of what I've been through from this moment, and again, like you say, you face adversity, so then you can almost then scratch all that when you overcome it and go, right now, from this moment, I'll make a better life. And from this moment, I'll make a better life. So everything can always restart. But like you say, you get caught up with what one adversity is, or what one person was, or what one situation was, and then that all of a sudden, for whatever reason, ruins your life going forward. Whereas I look at things like that now and say, well, why should I allow that hold me back? I can't control that anymore. That's been and gone. I can't control the fact that I retired from football early, and I can't control the fact of things that have happened in my past. But you know what? From this moment, I can make it as best as I can. And then whatever happens with that, do you know what? From the next moment, I'll make that wherever I want to make it. And that is why I say life can seem simple by how I speak it, but that's only just because over years and years of, as you say, reinforcing it with yourself to kind of say, look, at things could be worse. Everything's okay. Let's just take it as it comes. And the more that you do that, like I say, life does become a game, but for all the right reasons, where it's not about a game that you try and play with everything. It's almost like, no, it becomes a game because I just see things for as relaxed or for what they are. And when you see them for what they are, you don't then get caught up in the chaos that life can bring you.
Sure, like it's and the idea that it's a quote unquote game. No. It's just you understand some of the fundamentals of how to play life. It's in football. If you understand some of the fundamentals, you can go quite far just knowing the fundamentals, just having the right technique, having the right, bird's eye of where to be at the right time, that sort of a thing. Well, life provides those clues, lots of them. And I think that, how we deal through adversity, being present, some of the things that you've talked about here today are the ways that we can find those clues, and we can, and learn those fundamentals of life. And then you are just playing, because you've gotten into the right habits. As you said, man alive, this conversation is just all just coming together. It's all, you've really done a good job kind of taking a bunch of the elements that we talked to here with that example of the idea is life a game. Well, look at all of these fundamentals you've picked up along the way, many of which, given, my wife likes to say all the time, sometimes the blessing comes like a kick in the teeth. Many of those fundamentals that you've learned have been through pain, have been through adversity, but now have led to this place where, you look at life the way that most people, anybody listening to this, whatever the decision that they need to make their life better, build little better habits. That's a great place to start. Like sometimes don't be overwhelmed by it. Just take it one little step at a time. All these things that Mark is talking about here. I just appreciate very, very much how there are people out there who the only reason they don't make a decision is they make it too complicated for themselves. The way that you've just talked about it here, the way that you have shown, hey, there might be a different way of looking at life. The idea of actually being able to bite-size things, to a day at a time, and just watch what starts to happen. I really appreciate everything that you're talking about here. Are you still going out and doing, talk for the books and things like that, or has it been a while since you've done one of these things? Because you got piss and vinegar, my friend. You're going hard.
To be honest, it's probably been a while since I've done stuff like this, but then also, like, I have speaking in front of groups of people, and I have speaking on the odd podcast here and there. But like you say, sometimes when the opportunity presents itself, as you say, like for you to get in touch and to go, oh, it'd be great to have you back on. Like, I'm going to say yeah to it. And I'm going to probably have difference of perspective to what I did at the time when we spoke before. But I still genuinely still look at it where, look at there's so much more to come from my life, which I said before in the last one. Like, I don't know where it's going to take me, and I don't know where it can potentially take me. But as you say, it's the game that you play, that when you realize that everything that consists in your life is your choice, and that's everything from what you allow to affect you to who's in it to what happens and everything that goes on in between, and you have that control. That is when life becomes simple. That's when life becomes, like you say, the game that you describe it as, because people can argue with me, but it's my choice on how I want to respond. It's my choice on how I want to receive it. It's my choice on how I want to react. It's the same thing where if I want to help someone, well, it's my choice to want to go help someone. If it's everything like that for when if somebody gives you bad news, well, it's my choice how to respond and how to kind of assess the situation. Like it's all of that. And when I've started to kind of live that for me, everything, like I say, has become less stressful, because I felt as though, like you say, when you gain that control, nothing else matters, because that control leads to everything else. That control leads to a better way of seeing things because you're choosing it. that leads to simplifying life because you choose to simplify your life. That chooses, that choice then comes to, oh, well, I want to see things positive. And yeah, it might be raining out, but you know what? It's another day to go and do whatever I want to do. Do you know what? Yeah, I might have been told bad news, but I can still make this day as great as possible. And that's where I look at it going, when you gain control in whatever aspect that may look, and no matter how long that takes, that is when your life will just turn as peaceful as you want it to be, because it's up to you on how you allow things affect you. You stop looking at the victim side of it, where if you were to say something bad to me right now, well, then it's up to me whether I get upset. That's your perspective on how you talk to me, but it's up to me on how I receive it. So it's still then my choice on how I want to do it. So you can be the person you want to be, and somebody can be the person on the outside source to you, but it's up to you on whether you want to allow it to affect you or not, or whether you want to engage with it. And that, to me, that's why I say that that's why life has become a lot simpler. Because, yeah, there are things that come your way, but it's my choice on how I want to allow it in or whether I don't. And if I don't want to allow it in, well, then guess what? My life doesn't get affected. And that is why, like you say, when I laughed, is because life is a game like that. Because like a lot of people want to say, well, he made me feel bad and this person has said this to me, and oh, you should have heard what happened at work today. And I'm like, well, all that's irrelevant if you don't want it to matter to you. But if you want it to matter to you, well, then you're the one that's at fault for allowing it to get to you. So you almost then have to flip it on yourself to realize, I am the one at fault, whether I like to admit it or not. So then you then look at it and go, right, when I have that control now, right, anything can affect me or can't, but it's my choice whether I allow it or not.
Oh man, yeah, it's Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Giving an F. You know, he talks about that. Not everything's our fault. Not everything's our fault. Okay, just so you know, not everything's our fault, but everything is our responsibility, and you got to accept that or not accept it. But either way, you're going to get through it based on the fact that it's your responsibility, whether it was your fault that it happened or not. And taking that responsibility is such a huge thing. You are like a bright you're like a sunbeam. You really are. Guys who are in a spot that they may feel alone, you are such a good bridge builder, Mark, to show people that they're not alone. And I mean, you know, it's not like he's not gone through adversity, folks. He's gone through adversity. You know, he's gone through relationship stuff where it couldn't hack the environment. And are you strong enough to say, okay, like to me, that's really powerful. You know, if you got somebody who's there who isn't ready to jump in the program with you when it comes to this stuff, and they've got an attitude perhaps that isn't in line with where you want to go in life, sometimes you have to make those hard choices, and to keep the stuff that's sacred stuff. It's really important. Mentality is so important. You got to protect it. And you know, you showing us how you've gone through, you know, some of these adversities that you've gone through, life threatening, right to the end of, the brink of oblivion, you know, making these, you know, am I gonna be alive tomorrow? You know, you've had adversity, you've understood this stuff. And the way that you are talking to people, so plain spoken, so easily understood, it's a light in this world, Mark, and I just appreciate it so much. If people want to follow you, obviously Game of Two Hearts is still out. I don't know the best place to get that, if it's Amazon, or is there a local bookstop, or where is that's the spot? Okay. And if people want to connect with you, are you connected? Are you on the social medias and things like that? If people want to connect with you?
So still on social media, whether that's through LinkedIn or whether it's through Facebook, or even I'd say majority of the time it would be Instagram for people to reach out or to speak if they needed to say anything to me, or however that may look. So as I said, I'm open on all socials if people want to get in touch for anything. Like
what's your Insta handle?
Me Insta is MOBrien1992.
Okay. And we'll make sure that we put this out there as well. But yeah, it just you're making the world a better place. You really are, Mark. I appreciate you so much. You've dropped a lot of what would be considered wisdom, and it's weird, you know, using maybe even using that word at the age that you are, because it's the quest for wisdom, right? But man, you're throwing out a lot of really amazing things, and I just appreciate it so much. Yeah, I just from our camp and our family to yours, I just hope for continued success. I hope for continued health. That your health would just be top notch, and I hope those Newport boys. I hope they figure it out too.
No, like honestly, I really appreciate the fact I've been given the opportunity to come back speaking again. Like when I got the message, I was more than happy to do it because again, the last time we spoke, I absolutely loved it. So
Yep.
to be able to kind of speak again, and as you say, it feels like only yesterday we spoke. So for it to be as long down the road as it has, like I've loved every minute of it, and I could only again wish all the same back to you, your family, and everything that you're doing for yourself because it's amazing. And yeah, we'll wait and see how Newport are. To be honest, you'll never see me again, depending how this season goes.
And with what he changed it is doing, the idea of promoting these conversations, this is exactly what a textbook heCast is supposed to be about when we conceive what the show is, because this is what the app is. It's a place that guys can go and they can become vulnerable and they can look and realize that they're not alone, and they can realize that adversity is the thing that will actually get them to a place of happiness or healing or whatever that is, and all of these things put together, and then a place where there might be some resources, some directions to go. But again, that idea that you're not alone, that's everything that he changed it is all about. So thank you. And of course we're going to continue our friendship with you. We got to see how things go down the road even further. And
Exactly. There could be another podcast again later down the line.
Oh, damn right. Absolutely. No, I love it just as much. This is fantastic. And any way that we can help you, if ever you have anything that you're promoting or want to get out there, it's vice versa, my friend. So thank you so much for coming on heCast again today, Mark. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time.
No, honestly, I'll appreciate it, and I always will. And the fact that I can always say that you were there helping along the way, and at a certain point, and again, to be able to have the conversation, like I know it won't be the last one.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. That's fantastic. Follow Mark. Check out the book, Game of Two Hearts. But again, let's rewind and listen to some of the gold that he threw out there for people who feel stuck, feel they want to move forward, feel they want to increase. I mean, we've got a whole bunch of food for a whole bunch of good thought here in this conversation. This has been another episode of heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. My name is Mike Chisholm. Go change something.